It takes three. A lot of things take three. And in this church, it takes 3 years to cycle around from our monthly theme for it to come back around again. It's a 3-year cycle. Do you know why it's a 3-year cycle with our themes? It's so that these themes and the stories associated with our themes can become like yardsticks with which we can measure our own personal and spiritual growth. I think of it more like a spiral than a circle. As we come back around every 3 years to the same place, to the same theme, we're not in the same place ourselves personally and spiritually. Hopefully, we've grown in wisdom and in love. And so, by coming back around every 3 years, we can hopefully recognize where we were at the time 3 years ago when we, for instance, discussed our theme of October, which is death. Hopefully, for most of us, it's a spiral that goes upward into more progress and evolution. And now, with the theme of like death, there are a lot of people I know who have experienced death in one way or another in their own lives in the past 3 years since we brought forth this theme before. In my case, of course, I lost my daughter. So this time around, I find myself relating at a much more visceral level, for example, to the story of the month of the woman who was looking for someone to bring back her child. But of course, no such person or prophet exists. So I had to rely on you, a bunch of imperfect and deeply loving people, just like myself. A group of people who, some of whom think too much, some of whom drink too much, some who spend their days scurrying and hurrying about, others who spend them worrying about this or that, some who don't always know what to say, others who don't really know how to pray, some who try to explain everything painful away, some who could do nothing more than cry, others who insist on asking why, some who are serious and some who are funny, some who are depressed and some who are sunny, some who find these differences confusing, others who find them deeply amusing, some who seem proud and others filled with shame. In these minor ways, we may be different, but in the major ways, we're all the same. Do you know what we call a bunch of flawed, fallible, and fabulous people? The church. A group of people bound together, in our case, by a covenant, which is a sacred promise we make to one another, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We don't ask people to all believe alike to be a part of this church. We don't ask people to all vote alike to be a part of this church. We don't ask people to all look alike to be a part of this church. And more, we don't even ask people to all worship alike to be a part of this church. But we do ask people to make a promise of how we will treat each other. And we do it in good times and bad times. We do it when we're up and we do it when we're down. So this month's theme is death. It's a subject that most of us don't like to talk about. I like to tell people, don't worry, talking about death won't kill you. The theme, as you may know, is explored in our Sunday school with the kids all month long, in our monthly newsletter, Simple Gifts. We explore it in the Sunday sermon on the first Sunday of every month, and in our branches groups, which are small groups of 12 to 14 people that get together and once a month for a year, and they talk about the themes and connect it in their personal lives. If you're not part of a branches group or haven't been, I highly recommend it. It's a great way to get to know others in the church and to get to know more about yourself and these deep and important themes to understand how to live life with some wisdom and some dignity. Last month our theme was faith, and we used the Bible story to talk about it of David and Goliath. Next month our theme is forgiveness, and we'll use the story of the prodigal son again, one of my favorites. See, these themes, forgiveness, faith, understanding and comprehension of death, these themes are important things to understand and to be connected to in our own lives if we're going to live a life of wholeness and health and happiness. So in October, our theme is death. And even though the central story here at All Souls is usually a Bible story, this month we're telling the Buddhist story about a woman who lost her child. In the midst of her inconsolable grief, as we heard, she went to the Buddha to see if he could bring her child back. The Buddha tells her that he can help her. He tells her to go find a handful of mustard seed from a house that has not been touched by death. And as we know, the mother goes out searching for the seeds, but she knocks on every door in the village, but learns that there is no house that is not touched by death in some way. No matter what we believe, no matter how we vote, no matter how we look, no matter how much money we have in the bank, one thing that we all have in common is death. Some years ago at a concert of the a cappella group Sweet Honey in the Rock, one of the singers said, "My mama always used to tell me, honey, life is like a book, except we don't know what page we're on." Many people think that they're somewhere in the middle, but as far as we know, we could be in the last chapter, or the last page of the last chapter, or the last sentence of the last page of the last chapter, rounding our way towards the period. We just don't know. We really don't know. So the existential human condition that we are stuck with is that we live in a world of uncertainty. The only certainty is that we're going to die, and the people we love are going to die. We just don't know how or when. And we don't know what happens after we die. But clearly, we cannot live forever. Right? If we did, the earth would quickly fill up to overflowing with people and garbage. We would have run out of food and land and air a long, long time ago.